Hello, this is me after putting the video together. I realized when I was done, I filmed it in portrait, and I wasn't going to go back and film it again. I hope it doesn't detract from the beauty of the shells. Please enjoy. If you just want to see the shells, skip to 52, 56. But if you want to hear me talk about them and learn about them, feel free to stick around. I'll explain where I found them and cool, fun facts about them and why they're the way they are. So please enjoy and have some fun. Hello everyone. I thought I might make a video before I go off to college to document my shell shelf. Now this is completely unscripted, so maybe forgive my unplannedness. Anywho, so also the lighting situation is not great. I've tried to make it as good as I can. This is as good as it's gonna get, I think. Anywho, let's take a look. Up at the top, you may notice that. That is a bright coral that my grandfather gave me. Really quite big. Really heavy too. Anywho, y'all came for this, so let's take a look. Here it is all opened up. I've organized these shelves into families somewhat, as close as I can. Up in the top, we have some coral and an ammonite my mom gave me. I found everything in this shelf. This I found when I was like 8, so it's one of my oldest pieces actually. Pretty cool. This next shelf, I found everything except for that bird's nest coral. I bought that one. This was one of my best finds ever. It's amazing that it's still intact. We got some random worm shells, some more barnacle, smaller clam pieces, and the other half of that ammonite that my mom gave me. Here's the top again. Big brain coral. All right, let's move on to the shells. This is a conch, strombus, etc. All the little spirally, pointy ones that you find in Florida. So, in the back we have 2 big queen conches that I found. This one is actually one of my favorite overall shells. Let's get it out in the light. Let's get that pink. Really lovely color. Let's get that back in there. Bit more complicated than I assumed it would be. But hey, we got it. Let's go. This next one I also found very recently, in fact. Lovely orange. I managed to, this top was covered in calcium deposits. So like just thick mineral buildup basically. And I managed to get it off. I'll tell y'all how I did that. So the way you want to clean shells when you find them at the beach, the way I do it is first, if it's covered in algae, which is usually most of the case, so like a greenish gray material covering the shell, you want to put the shell in bleach. That should get rid of all that biological material. And then if most shells like this top section was completely covered in it, like a mineral buildup, like a calcium, you want to get a little jar of vinegar. Any kind of vinegar will work. Use a toothbrush and scrub it, and then get like a butter knife or something, and that calcium should come right off really easily. So it's something to do with the acid in the vinegar reacting with the calcium in the calcium buildup. But it's another reason you don't want to soak them in vinegar. Some people will put their shells in vinegar to get rid of the calcium. You don't want to do this because the shells themselves are made out of calcium carbonate, and it could have a dissolving effect on the shells and destroy the color and really damage them. So you don't want to soak your shells in vinegar. you want to scrub the calcium with vinegar. Anywho, now that I got that out of my system, I also found this recently. Really, really gorgeous color. This is also covered in calcium. Managed to get that off. Really, really love that one. Oh, here's my brother making an appearance.
Whoa.
Who is also quite a little shell enthusiast and has found a couple shells on this shelf that I'll be sure to point out. Here's another cool one that I found. One of my biggest finds, as far as specifically shells go. This came like this. I didn't have to clean it up at all. So that's really nice. You may be noticing this one back here. This is a rooster conch. Really, actually in decent shape. They're hard to find when they're with that little bit broken off. I bought this one, however, I didn't find it. I found this one recently. Lovely color. It's very dark, which I like. Found that one. Found all these up front, actually. This one just has a lovely shine to it. And the knobs are unusually large. I just thought that was really cool. You got a cool little scorpion conch here. These guys are really hard to get with all the spines intact. Really like this guy. Bought him a while ago. Cool little strombus there, unsure of the species. I forgot. But yeah, that'll wrap it up for strombus and conches. Let's go to the next shelf. Over here we have family Muricidae, or murex shells, or for the uninitiate, the spinny pointy ones. So your eye may be caught by this one, as it should be if you're a normal human being. This, actually one of my favorites, it's a murex pecten. Lovely guy with all the major spines intact, which is really hard to find. This guy's from the Philippines. I bought him. You may be wondering what this is, and I'll explain because it'll show up in many of the shells. This is an operculum. An operculum is a special little covering that when the snail goes inside the shell, it draws over the opening so that nothing can get at him. Really quite smart, in fact. Oh, and by the way, you may be wondering what the spines are for. Aside from just being utterly beautiful, they are to keep the snail from sinking in the silty sand. So these guys come from, the sand is very loose, very silty. It's easy for things to sink into it. In order to keep the snail from suffocating, it has these cool little barbs, which keep it floating in the sand almost like a snowshoe does. Anywho, this one is Rasmos murex. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, the largest murex species. Very big fella. I was given this by a friend. Anywho, we got some cool murex myokidae in the back with cool little red operculum. So if I can get in the light. It's like a dark, dark red. Cool little pink guy back there. Let's see if I can get him. You get that color? I forget the name of the species. I just call him a pinky. For obvious reasons. We got another pecten down here. Cool one that I forget the name of. This guy. I really like this one. When I bought him, he was covered in calcium deposits. He was covered in gunk. And you couldn't see these stripes. It was just all gray. Like, you couldn't see any of this. And so I was really, really happy the way it got cleaned up. Now it's one of my favorites. It's got a cool little coral bit on him, which I thought was nifty. Another one of my favorites. Another murex myokidae. This guy had an operculum, but I managed to lose it like an idiot. It was really, really good too. It was a nice bright red, so kind of sad about that, but still one of my favorite shells. This one I just recently got. It's an I was told it could possibly be an albino version of the shell. Some of them are very, very dark brown, kind of like this color all over. This guy's operculum too, but it's white, which is highly unusual. So we think it may be an albino, which means that it hasn't developed any pigment. We got two ended murex back here, little pink murex. That's the name of the. It's not. This one's not very pink, but they usually are. My grandma gave me this one. Got a nice murex alabaster. Then two apple murex that I found myself. This one very recently got one. He's quite big actually. I'm not sure if they get any bigger than this. But I really like these guys. Anywho, that is family Muricidae. Let's move on to the next shelf. This one is comprised of volutes, tritons, and just other random shells that fit that design. Anywho, I'll start with this one. This is my, if I can get it, this is my largest shell. This is a crown baler from the Philippines. You're wondering why it's called a baler. It's not named after the college, even though it is quite a good school. This is called a baler because in the Philippines and areas around there, they will use these shells oftentimes to bail water from their canoes. Hence the name baler. Really, really pretty shell. It's part of the volute family, so it's the same family as this one and this one. Let's take a look at this guy. This guy is an imperial volute. They can get quite a bit bigger than this, but this one is a really nice pattern. Spines are mostly intact, and I just like him. Now, volutes, you can tell they're volutes first because of this little nub on top, as you can see on the baler, if I can get it to focus. And its other one. Now, the nub stays the same size throughout the entire snail's lifetime. So when they're small, it's really big comparatively, and when they get big, it's really small comparatively. That's just a cool little fact. They also have these little bands inside that you can tell, even if they don't have the nub. Sometimes they can break off, unfortunately. This one's a cool one. This is an Atlantic Triton that I got in Italy. They can get quite a bit bigger than this. They can get to like, if I'm not mistaken, 14 or 16 inches. So well more than double the size of this. They're getting pretty hard to find now due to overfishing, which is pretty sad. But this shell, I was told, was found empty. So no snail was harmed for that shell. It's pretty cool. This one's really pretty. It's a harp shell. It's not related to the volutes, but looked similar, so I thought I'd put it in the same shelf, and it's really pretty. Really nice pattern. We got some hairy tritons. These, when the snail is in them, are covered in hair, possibly to help, from what I understand, to help disguise it, help be camouflaged. They can get quite a bit bigger than this. I haven't found a big one yet, mainly because they're not really in my area. And then I found all these. Yeah, and that's volutes, volutidae, Tritonus, Harpidae, and others. Pretty cool. Let's go to the next one. This is Cassidae, or helmets, tulips, my one lonely whelk, and all my olive shells. So, we start back here. This is a king's helmet that I was given by a friend. Great condition, unfortunate little chip there. Aside from that, lovely pattern. Everything's intact. These things are almost impossible to break. Looks like I'm running out of time. I'll have to make a part 2. So, catch you around. And we're back. Sorry about that. My mom called and I had to answer because I had to be polite. You know how it is. Anywho, let's get right back into it. Last time we were here, we checked out the King's helmet. This one's really, really cool. One of my favorites, a bull's mouth helmet. Really, really gorgeous. Lovely shade of red. Could throw that through a brick wall and it would be just fine. Maybe why they're called helmet shells. Here's one. This is a King's helmet that I found. I've been trying forever to find a King's helmet. And while this one is not really in great condition, I managed to clean it up a bit. It was a lot worse than this. But I'm just really, really glad that I found one. Because it was the last main shell that I had to find in my area. I find my shells in the Caribbean. It was the last big one that I had to find. And I finally got one the last time I went. And I was really, really happy. I had to dive like 40-something feet for it. I do a bit of free diving, so it's always fun. Oh yeah, one that's about that. When I find all my shells, I find them underwater. I dive for them. I don't find them on the beach. And when I'm diving, I mean holding my breath. I don't scuba dive for them. And I only take empty shells. I never take a shell with an animal in it. It's actually illegal to do that. So, fortunately, never broken the law in that area. Anywho, for my parents watching, I've never broken the law, period. Just had to throw that in there. Anywho, now that we're past that dilemma, let's move on. This is a juvenile King's helmet, if I'm not mistaken. A cool tulip shell that I was given. Now, if you're in Florida, you can find these all over the place. They are ubiquitous there. They're everywhere. In my area, they're kind of harder to find. Some south of Florida. 2 more tulips. Channel whelk. This guy's really cool. Got some cool ridges. Let's give him the light. These are all my olive shells. I bought this one. Really love the orange on the inside. You don't find orange often in shells. Pretty unique. These guys are cool. Found those 2. I was given those. And these are all netted olives, which are native to the part of the Caribbean I find my shells. Lovely little pattern on them. This one is the darkest pattern out of all of them. If you look closely, and I know the lighting's bad and my camera won't focus, but they all have little patterns like that. All with little triangles. This one's cool. It's a black olive shell. Really, really shiny. Really like that one. Anyway, so that's this shelf. We got Cassidai, tulips, whelk, and a bunch of olive shells. Let's move on to the next shelf. This is Cypridae, or cowries. Now, these can be found in basically every ocean on the planet. They're all over the world, and there are so many different species. Some people, when they collect shells, they collect only cowries because there are that many species, and they're all so different from one another. And they're all completely gorgeous and shiny. Now, I'll explain that shine. The cool thing about cowries is that when the snail lives in the shell, part of the body of the snail actually goes out of the bottom and over and around the shell, and it covers the shell, thus keeping it shiny, keeping algae and stuff from growing on it, and keeping it polished. So that is why cowries are shiny. Anywho, let's get into it. So that one I picked up is a tiger cowrie. And I got another one here, it's a bit bigger. They come in all different shades. Some are really dark, some are really bright. The darker ones are considered more valuable from what I understand. I could be wrong. I'm not the biggest tiger cowrie guy. They're big in Hawaii. We have a humpback cowrie. These guys are built like this. The flat bottom, really heavy because they live on rocks next to rough waves. So this helps them stick on the rock. Here you have a tortoise cowrie, one of the largest cowrie species. They get bigger than this. This is just the one I have. Really pretty. And up here, this little one is actually one of my favorites. Oops. This is a Limacina. Really little guy. Really hard to find. But I don't know. There's something about it that I just really like. Over here we have a very, very young Arabian cowrie. They get a lot prettier than that. This one I have is just unfortunately not in the best condition and not fully grown. You can find these in Australia. They're everywhere there. A map cowrie. Really cool. Looks like an old map. This guy, I forget the name, but I really, really like him. It's also got that flat bottom. Really lovely, kind of olive green, brown, really shiny. Oh, I just really, really like this guy. Here we have a mole cowrie. I love the black on the bottom. We have that little bitty guy's a zigzag cowrie. As you can probably tell, it's a fairly obvious name, but I really like it. Over here we have a Milaris. These guys are pretty popular. Gorgeous. Bought this one. Still lovely shell. We got a Pyrum, a little onyx cowrie. These guys are gorgeous. Juvenile shell. The way you can tell that with cowries is either the teeth haven't come in or this part of the shell, this side, hasn't fully grown down and closed in yet. Because even though it doesn't look like it, the cowrie shells still grow in spirals. They start on this side and spin around that way, gradually coming out to this last layer where they kind of go in and close off and form these teeth. So this one's in between adulthood and being a juvenile. A little fact. Here is a thrush cowrie that I found last time. Now in the Caribbean, we have a few main types of cowries. We have the Atlantic gray cowrie, which are these. They can be yellow or gray, which is a bit confusing. And an Atlantic deer cowrie, which I do not have yet, but they can get pretty big. These guys are invasive in the Caribbean. They're native to around Israel, and they're an invasive species. Still really pretty though. Got a nice purple one here. That light is not doing it justice, but that is like a, hold on, let's see. I just can't get it. That's kind of better. It's like a dark, dark purple. Over here we have some snakeheads. You can also find these all over Australia. These guys are flamingo tongues. These guys are really, really cool. They're not cowries. I call them an allied cowrie, so they kind of are formed the same way. They're very similar. These guys, their mantle, that's like the part of the snail that goes around the shell, is really cool because it's white with blue and orange circles. It's really, really pretty. Look it up. A flamingo tongue. Also found in the Caribbean. The rest of these are bubble shells. They come in all different patterns and colors, which I really like. That's why I have so many of them. Oops. They all need to be aligned perfectly, otherwise I go crazy. Yeah, but I really like them. Anyway, that's the main shells in this shelf. Separate calories. And let's move on to the next one. Next we have conidai, or cone shells, some mitras, auger, some random ones here, and then some little ones, mainly cerithri and auger, and a little mitra right there. Let's go through this. So back here, these two, if you are any sort of shell collector, you will know instantly what these are. These are Conus gloria maris. At one point, the rarest shell in the world, and most expensive. That was a couple hundred years ago, from what I understand, early 1900s, before the habitat was discovered. Now they're more common, but they're still quite expensive. These, even though they're in bad condition, like the lip is busted in a few places, they could still probably go for well over 100 each. Bought them for a killer deal, however. Here's the other one. Let's take a quick look. Pattern a bit darker. I still can't decide which one I like best. Some days I like the one with the lighter, more dense pattern. Sometimes I like this one. Just not sure. Then up next, these. This next row has a similar pattern to these. And let's take a look at this one. This is the exact same species as this one and this one. These are textile cones. And it's kind of a catch-all, but it's kind of a catch-all for any sort of shell with this pattern. But when you say textile cone, it's this species that usually people think of. This is a shell that belongs to the cone snail, which is extraordinarily venomous. One sting can kill you in a matter of minutes. So if you ever find one of these in the wild, do not pick it up, because it could be the last shell you ever find. I bought this because I'm not going to go pick up highly, highly venomous shells. From what I understand, any sort of snail with this pattern is venomous. I could be wrong. That is just what I understand. I am kind of new to this. Well, not really, but I mean, family conidai is not exactly my area of expertise. Now, this guy I was given for my 18th birthday, and the Gloria Maris were given to me as a graduation gift, in case you're wondering. I got this for my 18th birthday from my mom. She's pretty cool. This is a Conus bangladesis, from what I understand. Really lovely pattern, in excellent shape, no chips or anything anywhere. I love the shells with this elongated top. I don't know why, there's something about it that just really sticks out at me. Like the Conus excelsus. Go look it up. It is absolutely gorgeous and worth probably 5 times more than anything you'll find here. It's ridiculously expensive, but gorgeous. Anywho, that's this. Love that one. Always makes me think of my mom. So pretty cool. Up here we have a Captain cone, a little lettered cone, a big old lettered cone over here. Wound really, really tightly. Like you see, there are a ton of little spirals in there. So it's really heavy. And if you wonder what was making that noise, this is a marlin spike auger. This is one of the larger ones I've seen. Now, my hands are very large, so this shell is approximately 7, 8 inches. I do have very big hands. But I just really, really like this shell. This happens to be my dad's favorite. Really good condition. Now you could do some serious damage with this. If there's an intruder, works pretty well as a knife. This is pretty heavy duty. But this is one of my few auger shells. I definitely want to get some more, because they're a bit of an underappreciated family. Deserve some more love. Here we have a papal mitra, a mitra, a little mitra that I found, one of the species native to the Caribbean. Now this one's cool. This is a geography cone. Now this is even more deadly than the textile cones I showed you earlier. One of the most deadly creatures in the sea. This will kill you real quick. Very, very light shell. Very, very fragile. Not like some of the other ones on this shelf. Now, we have a broken fig shell and a intact fig shell I got from Italy. My brother that you saw earlier actually found this one. Now, fig shells are really, really hard to find because they're very, very, very fragile. This one's really big. So look how thin that is. They're, in their scientific name, one of the parts is gracilis, which is Latin for fragile. So, I mean, pretty fitting name. Over here we've got a brown fig, I like to call it, even though it's not really a fig. That's what I call it, because I thought it looked like one. Lovely shiny brown top. Gorgeous. This one, I'm unsure of the species name. I have the information about it somewhere. I'll go look it up. But this is one of my favorites, actually. This was given as a gift from the guy who gave me the 2 Gloria Maris, the guy who I bought it from. And I really, really like it. I love the pattern. I forget the name. I'll have to look it up. I keep all the info cards. One of my favorites. And then all these little ones up in front I found myself. And yeah, that really does it for this shelf. Also, feel free to let me know like what your favorite is from each individual shelf, or your top couple favorites overall. Now let's move on to the next one. Perhaps the most colorful. This is the bivalves, or clams. Sorry, I was going to say something, but my mind just blanked. You know how that works. Anywho, let's take a look. Probably immediately, you're drawn to 2 things, which is that and that. We'll start with this one. This is an abalone shell. Really, really gorgeous interior. They can be found in, I have some cousins who live in California, and they find these all the time. They're all over that area of the world. Got a huge Irish flat scallop in the back that I was given by a friend. Really cool ruffled clam here. Sorry. It's got a nice pink to it. Oops. Moving things around. This one does open up. It's really cool. Here's one, I forget the name too. I just had it in the, I just knew it. I got this in Italy. Really cool purple color. And this one's cool because it has it has the main clam, and another one growing on top of it right here, a piece of one right here, and a barnacle. So it's like 2.5 clams plus a barnacle all in one. I like that one. And here we have one that my grandmother gave me. Absolutely gorgeous. Does open up. Really love this one. And I just heard my mom pull in. So I will return for a part 3 where I will finish off the bivalves, toppers, moon snails, and nerites. Then I'll do sand dollars, sea urchins, sea stars, and some knot shell stuff. Anywho, see you in the next part. All right, sorry about that. Well, we're back. Let's get right back into things. So we looked at this one, we ended off there. Now let's move on to the other clams. I'm trying to work out how I can get the best lighting. There we go. Now these next two, the orange and red one, are spondylus clams. These ones are rock spondylus, so like they grow attached to rocks. As you can see, the little flat bit on the bottom, that's where they was attached. This one is another one of my dad's favorites. It was pulled off of a rock in, a shipwreck in the Red Sea. That one also opened. Uh-oh, sorry. Luckily, that was one of the robust ones, so everything's okay. Scared me a bit. Cool thing about spondylus is they come, even in the same species, they come in so many different shapes, sizes, and colors. Like the spines can get very, very large, and they come in yellows and reds and whites and so many cool colors. I love spondylus. I have two imperial spondylus. Let's look at this one. This one is a bit of a pink, and it is in better condition. This one's another one of my favorites. Love that guy. We have some Lazarus clams over here. These also come in a ton of different colors and shapes. Like these can come in so many different variations that there are endless possibilities with these. That's why I like them. All these little ones up front, I found myself. Found basically everything from behind that line I was either given or I bought. Everything in front I found myself. Oh, my brother actually found this one you saw earlier. This is a piece of a spondylus clam, Spondylus americanus. Nice red. Pretty cool finding spondylus. And then this, if I'm not mistaken, is a piece of this species. It's the top half, which is pretty cool to find. Anywho, other pretty simple ones. And a cool little, this one's called a surprise arc. I like them, a lot of cool colors. Anywho, that's the bivalve section. Possibly the most colorful shelf. Let's move on to the next one. Here we have my topper shells, moon shells, trochus, nerites, etc. You may have your eye caught by this one. It's called a jade turbo shell. A cool little bluish green. Now from on this side of the camera, it is a lot more green than blue. But yeah, they come with this naturally. These guys are gorgeous. And the one next to it, this one, is actually my first shell find ever. I was about 8 years old when I found that one, and that's what kind of kick-started this whole journey. That was a little place in my heart. This one I found recently. It's cool, pearlized. The mother of pearl is very exposed. Needs a bit of a polish up, but still very pretty. A lot more of these. These are called West Indian top shells. They're all over where I find my shells. Everywhere. Here's a cool one. A bit of a cream and some nice mother of pearl. Bit of a yellow. I like that one. But they can come in all, they can be cream colored like that. They can be solid and gray like this. Be all sorts of shapes and colors and patterns, so they're pretty cool to find. This one even has a bit of purple. Anywho, next to them I have some topper shells and some trochus, like this one back here. Love the little green trochus. One of my few green shells. Green's my favorite color, so I always like them. Here's a cool strawberry trochus that my brother found. Lovely mother of pearl, lovely red. Yeah, gorgeous. Here we have some tapestry turbos. This one, and that one. This one is more orange on my side of the camera. It's a bit brown looking through the camera. Got a bit of yellow there. Cool pattern. Native to the seas around the Arabian Peninsula, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong. I never mind learning. Got a bunch of cool little toppers that I found here. Cool little red one that's called a West Indian star shell. It's a lot more red on my side. It looks almost brown through the camera, but it's red really. And then these up in front, these little ones are nerites. Now, nerites, they're normally not that sought after, but I really, really like them because they can come in so many different patterns and colors. Now, hold on, there are some really, really cool ones. Hold on, let's see. This one, if I can get it without knocking everything over. I don't know if the camera can even pick it up, but these gray areas in between the spots, those are actually filled with hundreds and hundreds of tiny little lines that look like a Japanese single brush paintbrush. Like the patterns on these can be so finely detailed, it's crazy. These are definitely the most detailed of all my shells. And there are hundreds of them. And over here we have my moon shells. We have one of my largest ones. It's a shark eye, if I'm not mistaken. And these cool pattern ones I find a lot. I don't know the species, surprisingly. This one is probably the darkest and best pattern. Lovely shine, came that way naturally. We've got a lot of other little ones like that. I really like them for some reason, I don't know why. Oh, my brother found this one. This one actually is one of my favorites. It's a nerite, from what I understand. I could be wrong. But it is the only golden one I found. I've never seen another one like it. You know, the gold shells I found are really like these Atlantic gray cowries. Anywho, really like him, very unique. Anyway, that's this shelf. Let's go down to the bottom two. So down here we have sea urchins, starfish, sand dollars, and some non-shell stuff too. And of course my Nautilus. Let's start with that. I was given this as a gift by a friend. Now I don't buy Nautilus, and I would urge against it too, as these guys are really suffering from overfishing, because obviously their shells are beautiful and people harvest them for them. So I would refrain from buying these. I was given this one. I was like, you can buy them from someone who already has one, but if you're buying some, like for example, if your friend has one and he's gonna sell it, or if someone already owns one and like you can get it, but like I'd recommend staying away from buying these guys in other situations, just to protect the species. Now here is possibly one of my best finds, if not the best find I ever had. When I found this, I thought it was a sea urchin, but it turns out, in fact, it's a giant poofy sand dollar. I don't know the species name, but it is incredibly fragile. Like it'll break incredibly easily. It managed to get home safely, and these are incredibly rare to find intact, because these can shatter if they touch a rock. So I'm really lucky with this one. Really cool too. Be very careful with that. Cool. Now this cool starfish in the back, I was given this as a graduation gift by a friend. Let's get it out. Pretty cool. Let's see if I can remember how he went in there. Being very careful, of course. There we go. Got some cool sea urchins, twos with spikes. These purple ones are called Sputnik urchins. Really love the color. Very unique. All these little white urchins I found myself. Here's a cool little tuxedo urchin. It's like some green with some red mixed in. Pretty cool. This other one, here's a large sea urchin that I was given. Same friend who gave me the starfish. Bit of staining. I've probably used some bleach to clean that up. Now with sea urchins and starfish, sorry, not starfish, but sand dollars, one thing you can do to make them stronger is to paint them with a mixture of 50% glue and 50% water. And that's what I did for this one. That's perhaps why it stayed intact so long. But yeah, it helps strengthen the usually fragile finds. I did find a sea urchin that was almost as big as this one. It was a nice purple, it was beautiful, but unfortunately it broke on the plane ride back home, which stinks. I didn't have the time to, protect it, which I'm pretty bummed about that, because it was really cool. But you can't keep everything. It's something you learn when you're shelling. Here's a cool sand dollar I found. The way I found it was cool too. I was diving under the water, and I was running my hand through the sand, and all of a sudden I feel something, like, oh, what's that? Then I pick it up, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's a sand dollar. I had no visual indication it was there. I just felt it as I was running my hands through the sand. I realized it was pretty cool. Got some more urchins that I found, another Sputnik urchin. And then we have some of my non-shell stuff. I'll be quick. some cool rocks, little garnet, some tiger's eye, some pine cones. A big one I got in England from the Hunter Wood, actually. The Hunter Wood from Winnie the Pooh. Then a geode that my grandmother gave me, and a geode I got in Montana. So yeah, I'm gonna do one last quick run through, show which ones I found myself. I found everything in this shelf except for the ammonite. Everything in this one except for the bird's nest and the ammonite. I found everything in this shelf except for that one, and that one. I found everything else. Murex are not really native to my region. They're native to the Philippines and areas in that area of the globe. So I bought all of these except for this one I was given, and these two, which I did find. These are apple murex. They're one of the two main native murex species to my area. These and lace murex. This one, I bought that one, was given that one as a gift from Italy. Bought that, found all the little ones. Going down here, I was given that. I bought that one, found that one, bought that one, was given that and those. And I found all these olives. And then as far as cowries go, I found everything kind of along that line. I found myself, and then this one too. I bought the rest. Cones was given, and then I found all these ones in the front. Bivalves, I already showed y'all. I found all these in the front. Given a couple of those in the back. I found basically everything in this shelf except for the tapestry turbos, that jade turbo, and the green chocus. Found everything else. And then I found basically everything in these bottom two except for the nautilus, the large starfish, and a couple of sea urchins. Yeah, we'll go one last quick run through of all the shelves. I'll be quiet and let y'all look. And that is all. I hope y'all enjoyed this and have a good day. So, you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for sticking around and finding out about all the beauty the ocean has to offer. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'll try to get them answered. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day.